and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha, would like to thank all of you for liking, sharing, subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your comments and suggestions there. Today, we are going to talk about planets in the 10th house. But before that, the 10th house and its importance. The 10th house is one of the most important houses that we talk about. And it's one of the planets that can see you rise high up in life. Why so? Because the 10th house is also called the zenith. The 10th house talks about our karma, the work that we do. Karma means to do. And profession is a part of our karma because we spend more than 10 waking hours in our profession. So that becomes an integral part of our karma. There are many planets that get exalted, Digbali in the 10th house. Yes, does get debilitated in the 10th house, but it also gives good results in the 10th house. So let us see. Another point that needs to be mentioned here is that the 10th house is the highest of all the kendras that there are. And what more, the 10th house is said to be an integral part of the Upchaya Bhavas. If the 10th house was not a part of the Upchaya Bhavas, then the Upchaya Bhavas, instead of being called the Upchaya Bhavas, would be called the Trishadai. That is, 3 means the 3rd house, Shad means the 6th house, and I, or the 11th house. So we're not talking about the Trishadai, we're talking about the Upchaya. And Upchaya Bhavas are said to grow with life. So as you grow up, all of us would expect and would want our professional life to blossom more. And it does, all because of the 10th house. So what do the planets in the 10th house talk about? When we're talking about the planets in the 10th house, let's take up Sun. Sun is a planet that gives excellent results in the 10th house. Why? Because Sun gets Digbali in the 10th house. Sun is representative of the government. It is also representative of the king. The king is the one who occupies the highest position in the 10th house. If somebody has Sun placed in their 10th house, they would always, be it a public sector or a private sector, or whichever company they work for, they will always aim and with a little bit of effort reach the highest position of the company. Let's take an example, and the example is of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Aries Lagna, 5th Lord, 3rd Lord, and 6th Lord, that is Mercury and Sun, placed along with Rahu in the 10th house, that is the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn in itself is in the Kalpurush Kundli, the 10th house. So here, that is a Digbali Sun, which is the 5th Lord in the 10th house with Rahu, making it Yokarak. And because there is Mercury, which is the Lord of the 3rd house of letting, you have a lot of creativity and Prarabdha also. So Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose aspired for the highest positions, let them go, and what more? He simply moved towards other things because it's on the Rahu Ketu axis. Ketu being on the 4th house, his focus was always on Mata and Matribhumi, that is mother and motherland. So he worked for it, and that can be seen with a very strong Digbali Sun. Now let us move on to Moon. Moon is a planet that talks about mind. It talks about because the Moon is the only planet that has so many shades, it changes its color, its shade every day, its shape every day. So if Moon is present in the 10th house, a person would be very experimental, would like to experiment, would like to change, bring about change in whatever work they do. For these kind of people, contractual work is very good because you can finish things fast and you can move on to the next work. They also have a lot of creativity. They also put in a lot of thought process in their work. In the chart of Robert Downing Jr., we have Moon placed in the 10th house, and that too in a fire sign, and the nakshatra here is Bharani. Transformation, changes is something that goes very clearly with this nakshatra and this planet. So he went through a lot of problems in life, yet he had a resurrection. Let's not forget, Yama will give a person an ability to come out of all the problems that one has and be very stable. His series, his Avenger series, are well known throughout the world, and there has been a lot of development, a lot of changes, and people have loved him in each and every one of his movies. We come back to the planet Mars. Mars is not only Digbali in the 10th house. In the natural zodiac, it gets exalted in the 10th house also, that is in the sign of Capricorn. What more, it aspects the Lagna. Whenever Mars is placed in the 10th house, it would aspect the Lagna. Mars is pure energy. Wherever it aspects, it throws its energy in that direction. If Mars is placed in the 10th house for a person, it aspects the Lagna, making a person highly energetic and always ready to do whatever work. Such people, no matter what the situation be, will always be ready to face the consequences, face the situation, and bear the consequences. They have the ability to fight the situation and come out victorious, because Mars is also aspecting, in that case, the 5th house, where it throws its energy that is making the person highly well known in the circles. One such example chart that we come across is of A.R. Rahman. A.R. Rahman is a well-known singer, composer, not just in India, but in the entire world. So we come to the planet Mercury. Mercury is very important as far as the 10th house is concerned. We will be making a video on divisional charts and importance of Mercury in the D10, but just for now, all of us, Mercury, we many times we do not take Mercury very very seriously, because it is the prince and a young boy, so it can be taken a little lightly. But Mercury is important. Mercury relates to buddhi, the discriminatory mind within us, and when the buddhi is strong, when the discriminatory powers of a person is strong, the person has the ability to decide in its career what is good, what is not good, and how to proceed forward. In the world of commerce, Mercury talks about tradesmanship. And if Mercury is good in a person's chart, then the person has very strong knowledge of trading. If Mercury is well placed in the 10th house for a person, then that person is an ace trader. Warren Buffett is one of the very well-known examples that you can take over here. These people, and in the 10th house, if it's exalted in its own house, in that case, such a person would be born with the instincts of knowing how to trade. So Mercury in the 10th house gives a person very strong discriminatory powers, ability to handle money properly and judiciously. What more, the person has the ability to speak properly, so that to enamor the masses. Whenever they stand on a podium and whenever they talk, they will always be able to make a mark, leave a mark with all the people. It may so happen that on a personal level, on a personal conversation, they may not seem that flamboyant, but when they're talking on a podium, they're good to go. So that was Mercury. Let's talk about Jupiter. Well, Jupiter gets debilitated in the 10th house of the natural zodiac, that is the Makara Rashi or the Capricorn sign. But what I have seen is that if a person has Jupiter in their 10th house, Dhirubhai Ambani, then we have the case of B.V. Ramanji. If Jupiter is not, it's not exalted, if Jupiter is placed in the 10th house, for Dhirubhai Ambani, Jupiter is placed in Virgo Rashi. For B.V. Ramanji, Jupiter is placed in the sign of Scorpio. Wherever Jupiter is placed, it tends to expand. Placed in the 10th house, it expands a person's career and it gives a person a judicious knowledge of whatever the person is doing. A strong instinct, and they have the wisdom to go with the flow. They have the ability to take risks which are calculated, and they generally tend to give a person a religious outlook also. So whenever the time of Jupiter would be there, and for Dhirubhai Ambani, Jupiter also happens to be the Lagna Lord and the fourth Lord. So he sitting in the 10th house, automatically connecting to the masses, because and the family, the motherland, security of your own family and people whom you treat as a family. For PV Ramanji, it also connects with the house, and the fourth house also talks about your motherland and the nature. Again, as I said, because he spread the word around, he took the word from the Shastras and spread it around the world. So Jupiter, even though it's supposed to get debilitated in the 10th house, if it is sitting in the 10th house for anybody, it gives you a religious bent of mind. It gives you an ability to expand your business, whatever that you do, and be very firm, very strong in your business. Then we come to Venus. Venus talks about the art forms. Venus is good with a lot many art forms, and Venus in the 10th house is also strong because Venus in the Kalpurush Kundli, that would be its friend's house. Moreover, Venus is also the ability to attract people in a very aesthetic manner. So these people would be more doing work which would be related to artistic abilities. And if Venus is strong in the 10th house, these people are also good to look at, because and they have a very beautiful body, so as to speak, because the fourth house, the 10th house, talks about your spinal cord, it talks about your gait, and talks about your impressions. Venus in the 10th house gives one aestheticness that is required for your work, the way you present yourself. So those advertisers, those people working in the artistic industries will have a strong Venus, so to speak. And when we come to Saturn, I have made a video on Saturn and its importance for the 10th house. Saturn is the Karmkara. Saturn talks about servitude. Saturn talks about our ability to do things for others selflessly. And that is one of the reasons how we can let go of our karma that we have come here to let go of. When Saturn is in the 10th house, I've always found that they will show some connection with the government agencies. Why so? When we work for the government agencies, we have to work for the masses. We are not sitting in the highest position. Sun in the 10th house gives one a high position. Saturn in the 10th house makes you work for the public. More so, when Saturn is placed in the 10th house, it also aspects your 7th house, because through its 10th aspect, 7th house is a public platform. So it gives you a work to, and it can also help you work with contractors. It can help you work with laborers. It will help you to deal with these people, because Saturn in our chart also represents these people. And to my I was discussing about this in one of my basic classes, and somebody said that they know of a person who doesn't have Saturn in the 10th house and yet is a government servant. I asked them to check it in the D10 chart, and in the D10 chart, Saturn was with the 10th lord aspecting the 10th house. So it is very important that we do consider Saturn when we talk about government services and government work. Saturn on the 10th house will definitely make person work real hard, but Saturn doesn't deny, it only delays. So the fruits of your labor are sure to come out at some point. Let's have a look at some of the charts. But before we move that, I think we are still to do with Rahu and Ketu. When we talk about Rahu, we will see that Rahu helps us move in a field, do work that we're not accustomed to, and it will make our presence felt. Just for example, the chart of Hema Malini. In the chart of Hema Malini, we would see that she has Rahu in the 10th house, and She was a trained dancer. Acting was not something that she was trained for. She worked in the field, developed the habit, and then she became one of the best actresses ever during her time. What more, she continued with her dancing because that was something she was always wanting to do. Till date, she does practice her dancing and has her shows. When we talk about Ketu, let's look into the example of Nutan, somebody that is a talent she's born with. She was also born in a family of actresses, and that is the reason she could just prosper her career further. But when she first joined, she was ridiculed as an actress because she was too thin, she didn't have a lot of body weight, but her ability was so strong that she made a name and fame in her career. So we see that these planets have a strong say in the 10th house. Planets aspecting the 10th house also leave their mark there. For example, if you have Jupiter aspecting your 10th house, in that case, you will be very possessive about your career. You would be very wanting to take your career up one notch all the time. If you have Saturn aspecting your 10th house, yes, Saturn is also lazy. So sometimes you might be lazy about doing work, but sometimes you might be very vigorous with your work. If you have Mars aspecting your 10th house, then work is something that takes up all your focus. So let's not forget the planet sitting there, the planet aspecting there makes all the difference. Till we meet with you again, stay tuned and do let us know how you found this video. Thank you.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.